Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant late good afternoon. Welcome back on another episode to my YouTubers, to the LSN Mod Squad. Let's effing go. It is your boy Louis back on the Louis Sports Network, coming at you with another banger with yet another video. And you guys already know the drill. As I always like to say, make sure you smash the like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure your notifications are turned on, make sure you guys are sharing the stream, share them on your social media platforms, and make sure to share this on Reddit as well. I want to thank everybody for always taking the time to checking out the live streams, making sure to smash the likes on the videos, man. I truly appreciate it. How is everybody doing right now on this late Wednesday afternoon? I mean, we're in the middle of the week, about to hit the evening. Usually, I've been doing a lot of basketball content as of late. I had to touch up on some of my other content, but guess what, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing some NFL football. And shout out to Duality, who had mentioned this to me just a couple of streams ago about basically the running back, the top 25 running backs of all time list. There's been a lot of different lists over the years as to who is the best running back of all time. And I feel like when it comes to the top five, you could definitely make certain cases for a couple of guys. But the theme of the issue has been this guy. And as you can see, there's the Hall of Famer, the great Marshall Faulk, great running back, um, a guy who I definitely admire. When he played, I know he was part of the greatest show on earth, at least on the greatest turf. I know he played with the St. Louis Rams late, but you know that uh, he started out with with the Colts, with the Indianapolis Colts. Special running back that I truly admire. Smash the like and hit the subscribe. I would definitely want to know from you guys. I mean, who was your favorite running back, of all time? Let me know in the comment section as you guys happen to come in. And shout out, shout out to Ryan, man. He says he's doing great, and he says, Louis, you are the man. Definitely appreciate it, man. And like I said, continue to spread awareness to the channel. And like I said, man, just keep smashing that like and hitting that subscribe. We're talking running backs. So the issue is this guy right here, Frank Gore. Now, Frank Gore, I appreciate, Frank Gore's career. He definitely, you could definitely call him ageless. I mean, he's definitely been a very productive running back in his career. The problem is some people don't feel that he deserves to be a top 10 running back of all time. I don't remember what list it was, but there was a list that had came out when it came to the greatest running backs of all time. And like I said before, there's been many articles and lists over the years as to say who's the best. Some people have Barry Sanders as the greatest running back. Some people have Jim Brown. For me, when I think of the NFL and I think of running backs, the first guy that I think about is Jim Brown. Like I said, man, again, everybody has their favorite running backs. And again, you have to consider the era that you were born in and who you saw that you felt was the greatest in your time when you saw these running backs play. And every running back, what makes them special, you have to understand is with Frank Gore's issue is, does he have a case for the Hall of Fame? Now they're talking about longevity against peak performance when it comes to, Frank Gore. So I'm going to look real quick, and then I just wanted to look some running backs, of all time. And can I just campaign right now and say this? It is a crime that your boy Roger Craig is not in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to repeat myself again. It is a crime that one of the best dual threats to ever play this game, Roger Craig, is not in the Hall of Fame. He should have been in the Hall of Fame already. That man should have been in the Hall of Fame. It's crazy. So I just want to read this article about Frank Gore. He's signing with the Jets. The article is called Longevity Against Peak, and they're saying even why they think that Jamal Charles has a better Hall of Fame case than Frank Gore. So it says that in early May, he ended up signing with the Jets. It says the debate soon broke out whether he is eventually going to get into the Hall of Fame. I think he's going to get in. I don't see him as a first ballot Hall of Famer for me. But the thing is that I know some people have been comparing Frank Gore's numbers to even some of the running backs that are either in the top 15 or top 10. And they're saying that some of those guys really didn't even have that many peak years when you consider the value of production that Frank Gore has done in his career. And that's the issue that people are having with Frank Gore. They feel like what helps his case is longevity, but he never at one time in his career did you feel like he was the best running back in the NFL. So that's what people, because I don't remember what list it was, but some people are really bothered that he's even in the top five. When I look at Frank Gore's career, it's tough. I feel like for me, he's in the range of anywhere from 14 to 16 around there. And that's no disrespect to Frank Gore. I mean, he's been a durable running back. I mean, like I said, you're talking about an ageless running back, who's been very productive throughout his career when it comes to his longevity. But when it comes to his impact and his value, that's where people kind of question, is he really a top running back? But people are going to have their opinions on that. Um, Ryan says he thinks that Edgerrin James is underrated. Yeah, and I think that he kind of falls in that line where Edgerrin James is at. And I enjoyed watching Edgerrin James. Um, Ryan also says that he liked Emmitt Smith in his time with the Cowboys. I mean, yeah, I mean, Emmitt Smith was part of and I think people have a problem with Emmitt Smith kind of being at the top in the top five on most people's list because they'll say, well, Frank Gore played on very mediocre football teams, and that the fact that he was able to produce numbers on mediocre teams, but um, at Emmitt Smith's peak, he was able to do that with all pro guards, and he was able to do it with a pro offensive line. So that's not, I think that I feel like Emmitt Smith is kind of a little overrated because I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying that that's how some people would feel when they're comparing Frank Gore to a guy like Emmitt Smith. And Emmitt Smith was part of 3 Super Bowl teams, with the Cowboys. Again, smash the like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me ask y'all people, do you think that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, or do you think that he would get in on the second ballot? Also, let me know, do you think that Frank Gore deserves to be in the top 10? Me personally, I think he's anywhere from 14 to, I would say 14 to 16 in my range. Ryan says, do you think MVPs can be running backs? It's happened before. I mean, Sean Alexander was was an MVP. I think, if I'm not mistaken, LaDainian Tomlinson was in MVP. As running back. I could be wrong about that. Let me just check I know Sean Alexander was MVP back in 2005. I think he set the record for most touchdowns by a running back in the season with 27. I think that was the year that the Seahawks went to the Super Bowl against the Pittsburgh Steelers, if I'm not mistaken, not for Super Bowl 40. I could be wrong about that, but I believe he said he was the MVP that season. I believe he was the MVP. Yeah, Emmitt Smith was fun to watch. You ask Dallas Cowboys fans, they liked what he did, and they enjoyed Emmitt Smith. Let me just check once again to see who has been the most valuable player. Oh, I see Marcus Allen won the award. Okay. Oh, Jim Brown has done it. So there was a co-MVP, Paul Hornung and Jim Taylor. Oh, I know about Jim Taylor. I got to see a little bit about Jim Taylor in the NFL films. So Jim Brown looks like he won that award 3 times. He was actually the first when they actually brought the award in 1957. He was actually the first one to go back to back. He was the first back-to-back MVP winner. There's O.J. Simpson. He won it for the Bills in '73. Oh, that's another guy who was actually fun to watch. O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson to me was the first Eric Dickerson before Eric Dickerson came on, and Eric Dickerson. Oh man, he was really special. And looking at the highlights with Eric, he was so graceful in his running. Like his running was very beautiful to watch, and he had great speed. Great speed. He kind of reminded me kind of like a ballet dancer. And then it's like with his feet, it was a pity pat, pity pat, pity pat, pity pat, pity pat. Like that's how great he was. Walter Payton was MVP as well. When it comes to running back, so was Earl Campbell. He was MVP in '79. Marcus Allen in 85. Thurman Thomas, the great Thurman Thomas. Shout out to Thurman Thomas, running back for the Buffalo Bills in the K Gun offense. Andre Reed, Jim Kelly, shout out to them boys. And shout out to Jermaine. He says I like Barry Sanders and Terrell Davis. Yeah, Terrell Davis. I think he was Super Bowl. Wasn't he Super Bowl MVP? I think in the first Super Bowl, because I think John Elway won it in the second one. Shout out to Jermaine. He said, of course, Walter Payton. Your boy Sweetness, Walter Payton, man. Let me just where is that? There goes my man Eric Dickerson right there, man. That boy was special. You know, I love Eric Dickerson. And shout out to Jermaine because he just mentioned him. There he is, man. There goes Barry. There goes Walter. But let me know what you guys think, Ryan and Jermaine. Do you think that, I don't know if you guys are following football right now, but do you think that Frank Gore deserves to be in the top? I don't know if like I said, I think he's in the top 15, a little bit off. I feel like he's 14 to 16. But there's some running backs that some people would put even over Frank because, like, as compared to, other guys. Okay, Davis won the MVP. Shout out to D. I saw a segment the other day when they mentioned top running backs, and Max Kellerman said that the same thing about OJ because of the situation. The thing is, for me, OJ Simpson is a top 10 running back. The only problem is because of, the famous OJ Simpson case back in '94, and what he was accused of, possibly, killing his wife and his driver. Shout out to D. No doubt. What's up, D? D, I was gonna mention to you, man, that if you wanted to, I saw you on RB's channel earlier today, and I know you wanted to talk about the situation that happened with George Floyd. I thought it was something that you should bring up on your channel. I said that I think I could definitely, speak a little bit on that and, invite you, and you definitely could, talk about, your thoughts on the whole. And like I said, rest in peace to George, and shout out to the people in Minnesota who were advocating for the for that cop to take his knee off of the man's neck. I mean, it's crazy. It makes me very sad, man. But okay, so let me just continue reading the article on Frank Gore. So it says that he has a case to make the Hall of Fame. Obviously, he just signed with the Jets, and people are saying that, there's a lot of disagreements on his Hall of Fame credentials, and it's coming down due to longevity against peak performance. So they said that, he's the third all-time leading rusher. He's only behind Emmitt Smith and Walter Payton. For those who don't know, in 2002, Emmitt Smith passed Walter Payton for the most rushing yards in NFL history. And Emmitt finished his career in 2004 with the Arizona Cardinals. He is currently the all-time leading rusher with over 18,000, career rushing yards. And Walter Payton is second with I believe he's close to 17,000. It's 16,700 something, I believe, for Walter Payton. Your man Sweetness. Again, smash the like and hit that subscribe, y'all. Ryan says, are you a teacher? Teaching assistant, to answer your question. Teaching assistant. Let me just go switch the thumbnails right here. There is your boy Emmitt, and he says that, shout out to Jermaine, who says that he was a Terrell Davis guy. Where is Barry? Oh no, I already had Barry. I already put Barry on there. And there's the great Emmitt Smith. Yeah. I don't. It probably either it was one of my videos from a few months ago, or it could have been one that was like a little bit more in the past, or even months, after that. So before that. So okay. Yeah. So yeah. It was in a teacher's room. Yep. You're right. Because I do work with kids. So thank you for asking that question. So getting back to the article again, ladies and gentlemen, Frank Gore is third all-time in rushing attempts, and he has 9 seasons with at least 1,000 yards rushing. Okay, but then they're asking about legitimate questions about whether he is deserving of the Hall. And the thing is, he was probably in his 15 years playing in the NFL. I could probably consider him. I think he only made second team All Pro one. He was second team All Pro one time, and he was probably considered a top 5 running back. But it wasn't really. He kind of went under the radar, if you ask me, with Frank Gore. I think part of it could have been that he was on bad teams and stuff like that. But longevity wise, he was pretty good on production. Um, he was never a Super Bowl running back, but that was due to the fact that Frank Gore was not on great teams. So we can't kind of blame him on that. Because remember, you got to understand something. In the football field, you're talking about 53 players, and you're talking about 11 players on offense and 11 players on defense. So that's very hard. When you look at a sport like the NBA, it's like obviously, it takes a team to win, and it's the same thing with the NFL. But there's very few guys that you could say can really, really, really impact the football team. And the thing is, you have to understand it. A basketball player can affect both ends of the floor. A baseball player can be a great fielder and a great hitter. In a sport like football, you're only playing one side. You're only playing one side. So a wide receiver can't be a defender. He can obviously help with blocking when it comes to helping the offense. But you could definitely. There is some versatility when it comes to some of these offensive players and defensive players in terms of at least you could possibly play them in. You could put them in different packages on both defense and offense. But the bottom line is they're only playing one side of the ball. So that's why it's a lot more difficult. Uh, but getting back to him, he was never able to win a Super Bowl, unfortunately. He was never really somebody who led the NFL in like all-purpose yards, major rushing or receiving yards, counting off. He never really had like a standout season. Like he didn't have a peak season. Frank Gore to me was somebody who was just really consistent. Still a very good running back though. And sure, D. Let me just send you an invite real quick. I got room for one more, no question. And let me just send D the email real quick. Here you go. So D already sent you your email. And let me just look in the comments real quick. Ryan says that how do you rate an NFL MVP? Too many variables. And when you look at the history of the MVP, a lot of quarterbacks have won that damn award. A lot of quarterbacks. A lot of quarterbacks. When you look at so continue with the running backs, you have Barry Sanders was able to win. You had Emmitt Smith in 93. Terrell Davis was the MVP in 98. Marshall Faulk did it in 2000. You had Sean Alexander. I was right. Oh, and LT. Actually, they were the first set of running backs, I believe, to win back-to-back. So I was right. I remember that LT was the MVP because I believe I think he either tied Sean or he broke the record for rushing touchdowns that year. You got Adrian Peterson. Oh, of course. Who can forget about the great AP? Man, he had a hell of a rookie season. I saw his rookie year. He was phenomenal his rookie season. Unfortunately, AP's had quite a few injuries the last couple of years, and his production's gone down, and he doesn't even really get that much playing time like he used to. But in his prime, AP was definitely, you could say, arguably the best running back in the league in his time. And when you look at Frank Gore, he's really not, there. So yeah, Adrian Peterson is actually the last player to be the MVP of the league, the last running back to be the MVP. So it's been 8 seasons since a running back has won the MVP. But it's very difficult because when you look at all of these, it's a lot of. Oh, actually no, yeah, they were the last ones. Before that, it was actually Barry Sanders and Terrell Davis who actually won theirs back to back. But it just lets you know that like D said, man, too many criteria go into that. too many criteria go for an NFL MVP. And if you, like I said, when you go through now all these awards, you see quarterback, running back, quarterback, running back. Rarely do you see linebackers, defensive ends, defensive tackles. You rarely see that. It's rare. So let me continue reading the article, but before that, let me just continue to check with the chat. Yeah, too many things to consider. Do you look at the player's body of work that year as a candidate, or the value of him as a player and how impactful he is on the field or team? There's a lot of variables that go into that. Oh, Earl Campbell. Yeah. What up, my man? True to speak. And he says, in this stream to learn, of course. And it's unfortunate with Earl Campbell. The fact that his career was short and he was able to amass over 10,000 yards was remarkable, because people have to remember in Earl Campbell's time, linebackers and tackles, they hit a lot harder back then than they do today. And if you look at the rules, they try to protect the quarterback. They try to protect the quarterback, especially where some players like to hit at. It was tough. Yeah, AP was on the Vikings. Yep. Dante Culpepper, yeah, he was a quarterback for the Vikings. And D the Godfather Jefferson, what is going on, my brother? Talking some NFL football. How is everything with you, my man?
What's up, Louis? Everything good, bro. Everything good. I seen you was talking about some football.
Yeah, man. I'm just looking at some of the, great running backs, and the reason being is because, one of my subs had brought up, the issue of, there's the great Galesayers. Appreciate, he was awesome, especially in special teams. And if you guys want to learn more NFL history, y'all should really go watch NFL films. They do channels like NFL Throwback. There's channels on YouTube where they have NFL films and NFL Throwback. If you really want to learn the history of the game, go check those channels out. They're fun to watch. I saw the NFL 100 all-time team just recently, and it was dope. But the reason that I kind of did this is because when one of the subs brought it up, they were saying that they feel like Frank Gore, and I'm sure you know Frank Gore. He has been a consistent running back throughout his career, and his Hall of Fame case is coming up right now. He just signed with the Jets, and people are saying, they're kind of asking, one, is he a first ballot Hall of Famer? And then two, where does he rank among the greatest running backs of all time? I said he's kind of somewhere between 14 to 16 around there, because I feel like there's other running backs when it comes to peak performance. I feel like the case that he's got is longevity, but I feel like when it comes to peak performance, I feel like there's a lot of other running backs to me that stand out more than him. So I want to get your thoughts on Frank Gore.
Yeah, I will put Frank Gore somewhere between 16 and 20, maybe. I don't know. Because I could think of a plethora of backs. I gave up doing football on the channel, but I still got the knowledge, you know what I mean? But the list goes on and on, bro. Like, where would you start? Like, I'll give you guys 10 running backs that I would put over Gore right now.
All right, cool. Name him.
So, like, first foremost, Jim Brown. He's going over
Gore. I'm sorry.
Walker Payton.
Sweetness.
Gale Sayers.
Oh, Gale Sayers, of course.
Yeah, I will put LaDainian Tomlinson over him.
Oh, I could put, easy.
Eric Dickerson, easy.
Woo!
One of my favorite of all time, Barry Sanders, I would put over.
All facts. Some people consider him the greatest.
Damn right. Big Earl Campbell would go over him.
And I was just telling Jermaine in the chat that when he was saying that Earl Campbell was one of his favorites, and he was mentioning about Barry Sanders, I said that the crazy thing about Earl Campbell was the MVP of the league in '79, and he was able to amass 10,000 yards in his career, considering his career was so short because of the pounding he took. And people need to understand, when it came to '70s and '80s football, it was a lot more smash mouth compared to how players get hit today. It was a lot more physical when it came to tackling.
Yeah, and they said they have players that said that Earl Campbell, every time you hit him, your IQ got lower. I was like, God. So look, I think that was about 7 of them, 7 or 8 of them. So I'll say let's just say it was 7 of them. So let's say it was 6, because I'll give, even if it was 11, I got more. But Tony Dorsett, remember him from the Cowboys?
Oh yeah. Oh, Tony was special, man. That dude was
Tony
fast.
Dorsett, I'm gonna put over Frank Gore. I don't give a fuck what happened with. I see a lot of sites like analysts and stuff. Listen, guys commit crimes and stuff like that, but what they did on
Mhm.
the field is what they did on the field. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And so
Exactly.
I'm gonna put the juice ahead of Gore. I know that he, is
Mhm.
an idiot, but still,
Mhm.
what we did on the
Mhm.
field, you got to put the juice up there. So of course, Emmitt Smith would go over him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And it's funny. And it's funny.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Didn't mean to cut you off, but I was just going to mention that some people were arguing when it comes to Frank Gore. They're saying, well, Emmett really didn't. I felt Emmett had some breakout seasons, and Emmett was even the best player in the league. He won the MVP in '93, the year the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. And they're saying, well, Emmett really didn't have that many standout seasons to Frank. And I said, well, you got to consider this. Emmett has some really good peak years. If you look at Emmett's career, and I said that he was the best running back in the league, something that Frank Gore has never really been in his career. Then on top of that, yeah, he played with all pro, guards and with that offensive line. I get all that, but if you look at that whole Cowboys team, they had a lot of great players on that team when they made their run. And Frank Gore, and he was, like I said, he's productive, but at never one point did I feel like he was really the best running back in the NFL. And he only made one second All Pro team, whereas Emmett's made first team All Pro numerous times and a lot of Pro Bowls. So,
Right. Well, let me take it back for some of these guys that some of the younger guys. I'll give you guys that you guys may not have heard. I don't know. You guys probably heard of Marshall Faulk, but I will put
oh
Marshall.
yeah,
Well, let me
yep,
take it back a little earlier to Marshall Faulk. I'll take it back to Steve Van Buren. And Steve Van Buren was an old back, but he's
hmm
already in the Hall of Fame.
yeah,
In the Hall of Fame now. Okay, he played with the Rams. Listen, let me tell you something. Steve Van Buren back then had 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, bro. Back
hmm
then, you know what I mean. He led them to championships back then, in
hmm
40 and in 49. And so just like the way he was dominating back then and where he is in like of the all-time players,
hmm
Steve Van Buren, I can guarantee you on most people's list is gonna be over Frank Gore for sure. But then you
hmm
had another back, old school now. Maybe some of you guys may know him, but Lenny Moore. Lenny
Oh, he
Moore.
played. He played for the Baltimore Colts. He was a
There
versatile
you
back.
go. There you
Versatile
go.
back. Versatile back.
Right. And Lenny Moore was it still might his record still might stand. He was the only back in NFL history to hit 40 rushing and receiving touchdowns.
I
40
think.
and
I think. I believe in terms of receiving touchdowns, he's I think he's still the only 40-40 member. I think he had 48 career touchdowns receiving and
yeah.
63 rushing.
He went
So
over 40 and 40, and I think he's the only player to do that. Plus, in 143 games, 144, 143 games, some shit like that. He had 110 or 111 touchdowns, bro, which means he was
exactly.
scoring down there. So I can guarantee you Lenny Moore would be over Frank Gore. I mean, I could go on and on. So I would say I gave you guys at least 13 backs, right?
hmm I
And
mean,
so at least 13 backs. So that already knocks him down. I could probably come up with some more like Earl Clark. I don't know if you guys know about Earl Clark, but he was an old school back. Old school back. Earl Clark was a beast. I said Marshall Faulk, right? I know
yeah,
y'all said Adrian Peterson. You could argue 2 guys. You could argue 3 guys. Actually, you could argue with Frank Gore. I would say Thurman Thomas, Curtis Martin, and the bus, Jerome Bettis. You could
all fact.
argue
You
their
know,
spot. So I
yeah.
mean, you
hmm
know, that's I don't want to hog the mic, but I just want
No,
to
no,
kind
you good, you good.
of on some about backs because football is my thing, bro. I love football. You know that,
Yeah.
Louis. Most
Oh
people
no,
don't.
that's
But I
oh no,
dropped
that's a
the channel, but
oh,
I love football.
oh no, that's a fact, man. And I appreciate it. Let me just check in with the chat real quick. There was some comments that I saw. Layla's been putting pictures of food because she is a pick foodie. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Ryan and Jermaine. He's trying to multitask. Shout out to Caden, man. And like I said, make sure y'all go subscribe to Caden's channel. Caden is a Atlanta Hawks fan in basketball, and he also is an Atlanta Falcons fan. And he's really coming up. He's a bright young man. And make sure you guys go subscribe to his channel as well. Met him. Shout out to Layla. She's always holding it down. So yeah, it's crazy because it's funny. I was gonna mention Marcus Allen. This is another guy that people don't mention, and he was a great running back. He played for your Redskins, John Riggins.
Yeah, Big John Riggins. I think John Riggins' career was so short-lived. I think Gore would edge him out. But Big John was explosive, man, and he was strong.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, as they would say back then, deceptively quick. I just say he was a fast back. I don't really like that phrase in any sport, deceptively quick, because I'm saying that I don't like it because a lot of sports announcers use it, and people don't see the underlying tone when they use it, but it's generally against like white guys.
Right.
You don't really hear them saying like Emmitt Smith was deceptively quick. They just say, oh, he's lightning quick. He's fast as lightning and all of that shit. But if it's a guy like Lynch, remember Lynch? He's deceptively quick. No, he's just fucking fast. If it's a guy like Edelman, he's deceptively quick. No, he's just fast. It's not deceptively anything. He's fast. So I never even liked that. But he was quick too. That's basically what the point was. He was quick, really fast.
Yeah. Hey, no, for sure. And I gotta ask you a question, D. Do you think that Frank Gore is gonna be a first ballot Hall of Famer, or do you think that he'll probably make it on the second ballot when you really consider his career?
With that is kind of tricky because I don't know if people know, but you first have to go look at when he retires and who he's retiring with, right? So around this time, let's say that he retires and he goes on that ballot with Adrian Peterson and Ray Lewis. Does he get in? No. No.
Those guys were much more impactful than he was. I'm sorry.
No, he won't get in. So we would kind of have to research like when the retirement happens and who he would go on the ballot with. I think it's like every 5 years. So Ray wouldn't be on this ballot, but it's a fair chance that Adrian Peterson would. And when did Peyton Manning retire? Didn't he just retire like 3 years ago?
Something like that, yeah.
Right. So what if Gore retires and then he's on the ballot with Peyton Manning? He gets in before Peyton? Hell no.
No way.
You know what I mean? So you just got to kind of look at it that way, who he's in the ballot with. I think around this era, when it's time for him to retire, he's going to be a second ballot Hall of Famer. There's too many guys that were defensively, offensively, whatever. There's too many guys that were retiring around this era for Frank to get in before them, in my opinion. I would do the research. I haven't really done the research, but just thinking off top of the head, there's too many guys that would be on the ballot with him to see him get in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just feel like when you look at his career, he's definitely had some 1,500-yard seasons, but I just feel like he never was a peak performance type of running back. He was just a guy that, he was productive. He's kind of, like I said, he's one of those cumulative stat running backs that, was able to pretty much amass, a lot of yards. But it's like when you really look at his seasons, he really didn't stand out. Like he didn't have a breakout season. He didn't have a historic season like some of these other running backs had when it comes to rushing yards, all-purpose yards.
Right. That's a big factor, and that's what I think. Like Sean Alexander, remember him for the Seattle Seahawks?
Yeah,
he had
MVP.
He had Jamal Charles. Well, he's still playing, but Jamal Charles, I think, has a chance to pass Frank Gore if he, you know what I mean?
Me personally,
do you remember Larry Zonka, Louis?
Yes, Undefeated Dolphins, man. 72, baby. Don Shula. Whew,
Larry
forget him.
Zonka. Think about Larry Zonka when you think about, you know, and these guys was like, these guys stood out. And Larry Zonka was a part of that 16-0 team, you
Hmm.
know? So I don't know, bro. It's just kind of hard for old Frank, man. And like I said, it's still older guys because I used to talk to a lot of my grandpa's friends and stuff about
Right.
football, and so it's older guys like Ollie Matson and Joe Perry. I don't know if you guys know these guys. You
Joe
mentioned
Perry.
Big John Ray,
Yeah, yeah,
Terrell Williams. You
I
know
do
what I
know Joe
mean?
Perry. I
You
do
know
know
Joe
Joe Perry.
Perry, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's guys like that, bro. Edrin James. Remember Edrin James?
Yes, for the Colts. Yeah, he played with Peyton. I won a
Right.
Super Bowl with him. So,
Right.
and I,
And I
yep.
mean, I don't know, bro. It's hard to say. I mean, Frank Gore got it's a lot of names. Bo
I re
Jackson. Fuck, I didn't even say Bo Jackson, man. What the hell, bro?
You know, Bo Jackson, he's special in the fact that he had the ability, because he was a multi-athlete, reminded me of Deion Sanders, and the fact that, you know, he was a running back for the Raiders, and then he also played baseball for the Kansas City Royals. It's crazy because I felt like for me, and I know I think he had a really bad knee injury, I think, when he was with the Raiders, but I think if he would have played longer and had a long career, I could make a case that he would have been a Hall of Fame running back, considering what he could have done. But you know, and he played both sports. And like I look at guys like him, and then I look at Deion Sanders. I mean, his ability to be a great defensive back, but then his ability to be a great baseball player and played for the Atlanta Braves that went to the World Series. I mean, like that's how talented that those guys. That's how talented that those guys are. But it's like even if Bo Jackson had a prime, I could consider him even better than the Frank Gore, and that's no disrespect to him at all. But
No. It's just Bo Jackson tore his goddamn leg out of the damn socket. But outside of that, bro, Bo Jackson, like, just like a level of talent. I mean, it's just like Barry Sanders. If
mhm,
Barry Sanders didn't retire, he would actually rival Jim Brown. I mean, I think of all running backs, Jim Brown's the GOAT. So if we say, well, when it comes to running backs, because it's hard to say the GOAT of football, too many positions, hard to compare them.
mhm,
So if we say the GOAT of running backs, my GOAT would be Jim Brown. The dude was just fucking a bruiser, punishing, could catch the ball, run the ball.
yep.
You know what I mean? Like
The,
Jim Brown can do it all. Block. He can
the
do
the
everything.
the special thing about Jim Brown is that, yeah, he can do it all. This guy could play in any era if he wanted to. He was very versatile.
Oh yeah.
The guy was very fast. He was hard to bring down in between tackles. And like I said, when you think of running backs, that's the first guy really you should mention, Jim Brown, because he really was the foundation for running
He
backs.
was
I
the
mean, this,
GOAT, bro. He
yep,
was
bro.
the dude could bruise through the middle, so he could
Hmm.
run up and down. He had
Hmm.
lateral movement, so he had cuts.
Yeah.
He could transition right back up to speed. It was amazing that he could do these things being so big. He was durable as fuck. So like that, like he's the GOAT. But back to Barry Sanders, I really think that had he not retired, because I got Barry Sanders at like 5 or 6. I did this a while back, and I had Barry Sanders at like 5 or 6. I couldn't put him ahead of certain people because he did retire. Like,
Hmm.
I had Eric Dickerson in front of him,
Right.
Galesayers, Walter Payton. But had he not retired, because look, people remember when Barry Sanders retired, he had at least 5 seasons left in him. At least 5 seasons left in him.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So if he hadn't retired, he would actually rival Jim Brown because no one could stop him. And if Detroit, I'll give you one even better. If the 8 seasons he did play, if Detroit ever got a freaking offensive line, he would have smashed down there every record
You
that we
know,
have of football.
and before I go back into the chat, I gotta say this right now. Some people have. I was looking at. I forgot. I think I was watching Undisputed with Skip and Shannon, and I think Barry was voted as the best running back of all time. And there were people in the comment section who were saying that Barry really wasn't that great because in the playoffs, they were like in the playoffs. Well, he never really amassed over 100 yards in his career. I said, well, you got to understand something. Number one, Barry was really the best player that they had on that team. Number one. Number two, in his years that he played, Detroit really didn't make the playoffs because they were not a great team, and they had a horrible offensive line the entire time. Listen, put receivers and some threats on that team, and you'll see Barry Sanders put some good numbers, especially if the offensive line could do better jobs of blocking tackles. If they could block
Mm-hmm.
defensive ends, they could block the defensive line. And they were saying that Barry wasn't really good at. They were saying, well, Barry really didn't. He wasn't good at picking up blitzes, and that he could only run through the middle. I was like, it's like if you really watch Barry Sanders, Barry was very elusive, man. And it's like he was able to amass over 15,000 yards with a poor offensive line. Now give him Bill Belichick with the offensive line that Tom Brady has, and tell me how many yards will Barry Sanders get? And the funny thing is, Emmitt Smith said it when they did the NFL All-Time 100. He said, had Barry not retired too soon, because they were saying how Barry and Jim Brown retired like too early, because Jim Brown only played 9 seasons. But if Barry did not retire, Emmitt Smith felt that he would have been the first 20,000 rushing yard running back in NFL history. And I agree with that.
He definitely would have. And he would have cracked 2,000 yards, I believe, at least four times.
It's true. Let me check in with the chat before, and I actually want to get into the conversation of. I know you have Jim Brown as your number one running back, but I actually want to go through some of the great running backs, and then I want you to describe a little bit of what those guys were like, because I think it just brings into this conversation. Okay. Jermaine says no order. He says Barry Sanders. He has Terrell Davis, Earl Campbell. You know what's crazy about Terrell Davis? The fact that dude played with, because he was known to have those crazy migraines, and for him to be productive as he was, is remarkable.
Yeah.
And yeah, Earl Campbell, Walter Payton, and Jim Brown. I have others too. Is so many. Yeah, man. All these other great.
That's a good list of guys, though.
She said you didn't see it yet. Ryan's talking about Peyton Manning, the quarterback, should have a statue in front of Lucas Oil. Oh, he's gonna get it. I mean, he brought a championship. I mean, and in his prime, he won 3 MVPs with the Colts, 3-time MVP. I mean, his crazy stats were with the Colts, and he was still able to put up 2 really very good productive seasons with Denver, because I think he won 2 MVPs with them, and he actually he had a couple of 4,000-yard seasons with the Broncos. So, and that was coming off of neck surgery. So you got to give Peyton a lot of credit with that. He also says the bust Jerome Bettis. I enjoyed watching Jerome Bettis play. As a running back, he was. They call him the bust for a reason. Curtis Martin and Tiki Barber. That's why I feel like, and I feel like in a sense, I feel like Curtis Martin is a little similar to Frank Gore, but I would put Curtis a little bit better. Not by much, but I would say a little bit better than Frank. You think Tiki was better than his brother? I mean, the thing is that Rondé Barber was he corner or was he safety? Rondé Barber, and he has a Super Bowl.
Barber was corner.
I know he played. Because I know he played on defense, but
wait. Was he a safety? He might have played both positions, actually, because they can swap those guys. He might have played both positions, but I know he was defensive back for sure.
I think he might have started as corner, and he probably played. Was he
transitioned over to safety?
He might have been short safety, I believe.
Because I think for sure when he won the Super Bowl, I think he was short safety when he won the Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. Brett. I mean,
they played Tampa Bay. That's right. And who was what's his face? John Gruden. There you go. He was the coach.
Yeah, Gruden was the coach.
That's right.
They had fucking. Go ahead.
I was gonna say Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks. I remember that team.
Yeah.
The disrespect to both Mannings is real, given Belichick, and the narrative completely changes. More so for Eli. Well, for Peyton, it would be more championships, because that's how intelligent, Peyton was when it came to reading defenses, his ability to call audibles, very quick. The only thing that Peyton was able to adjust having a good team in terms of cold weather, but with the Colts, Peyton was not. He didn't really play his best ball in cold weather, especially against very good defenses. You look at the Patriots when they kept knocking them out of the playoffs, and that was what having Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne, and Dallas Clark, for your receivers. All those guys were good. Rival Jim Brown, I don't know about that. No, Jim Brown is hard to rival. Thurman Thomas, that's right. Great Thurman Thomas with the K-gun offense with Jim Kelly, Andre Reed, and those Buffalo Bills. It's crazy how they never won one Super Bowl with the run they
Yeah.
had. I think Peyton wouldn't join the enemy to play for Belichick. They would clash because of the offense. Maybe. Let me see. Oh, Ryan says, I bet most of these players in the golden era will continue having contact today. None of these players will have a longevity career. Like I said, the careers to me would have been a little more shorter considering how physical, like I said, how physical and hard hitting it was back then. Barry made all of his yards by himself. I mean, yeah, when you consider the O-line he played with, absolutely. If Belichick went to Manning instead of Brady, they really wouldn't clash because Bill rarely gets involved in the offense. He would let Manning run it for the most part. Especially, I mean, people have to remember that as great of a coach as Tony Dungy was, it lets you know how great Peyton Manning was too, because the dude ran a lot of audibles when it came to his plays. Again, smash the likes, can hit that subscribe for the Louis Sports Network, and going to be asking you a couple of questions when it comes to running backs in a sense. We're going to talk about the description, and you guys are doing great in the chat so far with the people that have come. Make sure you guys stay tuned for my next live. It's going to be on the ruthless aggression era, so we're transitioning to wrestling. So it's a little bit of an off day for basketball. And like I said, I got to get back on the content. I want to show the content some love, and I got to get back on baseball. My future video is going to be on the 1990s Atlanta Braves. I wanted to focus on them because I was actually watching some videos on them, and even though I'm a Yankees fan, I appreciate guys like John Smoltz and Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine. So I will be doing, and the great manager Bobby Cox and Chipper Jones, and I definitely want to show those guys respect. Get it back on the baseball content a little bit. So make sure you guys pull up for that. For those I might pull up with that video tomorrow, but make sure you guys pull up for that wrestling video coming up later on. 12 likes. Keep smashing that like and keep hitting that subscribe. Appreciate it, Layla. Thank you. Peyton, with those injuries, he had weight heavy on him. If he was protected more, he would have had a much greater career, breaking all kinds of records. I mean, he already did it. Oh, that's right. Oh, I think you meant LaDainian Tomlinson. I got you, Jermaine. I know what you mean. We're here. We're here for it all. That's right. Appreciate it, Layla. I thought Andrew Luck was a bit overrated, but excluding his serious season career injury aside, Luck showed a spark of capabilities. I mean, Luck had the talent. He definitely had the talent. I was so pissed when I was at Buffalo Wild Wings and I was in a fantasy league and I tried to draft Andrew Luck, but the shock was he ended up retiring. That soon, and I was shocked when I saw that. I was like, that was a waste of a pick. I'm like, that's no good. I'm like, well, there goes that. All right, D.
I was doing football when Andrew Luck retired, and I actually got that video out before ESPN dropped theirs.
Wow, look at that.
Uses, I thought it would, but I got that.
Okay. All right. So, and like I was saying before, when it comes to Jamal Charles, I think he has a better case in terms of making the Hall of Fame. Kind of on the first ballot in terms of with him compared to Frank Gore. Okay, and Jermaine says that was exactly what I meant. All right. So D, in your personal opinion, I'm gonna name some of these gentlemen, and like, what comes to mind when you think of these guys? I know we already talked a little bit about Walter Payton. What impressed me about Walter Payton, I loved if you notice Walter Payton when he always did his when he would leap into the end zone, it felt like that dude had like a 60-inch vertical whenever he would leap into the end zone for touchdowns, and he had a lot of respect. He would never really celebrate after his touchdowns. He would just give the ball off to the referee, which just shows you what kind of class he had. And he had tremendous heart, determination. Jim Brown was in awe of Walter Payton, and he said you could see the greatness of a sweetness, but very, very classy individual. And rest in peace with the great Walter Payton. What do you think of? Okay, what comes to mind when you think of Marshall Faulk?
Marshall Faulk,
yeah,
all around one of the greatest multi-production backs
Mm-hmm.
in NFL history. One of the greatest ever. Marshall Faulk, when you think of the definition of a back that could truly do it all, you think of a Marshall Faulk.
Facts.
That's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Marshall Faulk. He could catch the ball like a wide receiver. He could run routes like a wide receiver. He was a hell of a blocker. He would pick up blocks on linemen. He would pick up blocks on these big linebackers rushing through to hit the quarterback, and he could time it. He was smart, the thing with Marshall Faulk. He would actually you could watch Marshall Faulk back then, and you know how they would call audibles and such. Marshall Faulk would come up and tap the quarterback and tell him the switch of the play. That's how smart he was. He would tell him, "Look, check over there." So he's telling the quarterback this side they're gonna play. This is why he knew where the spy was coming from, or he knew where the stunt. He knew what side the stunt was on, so he could pick the guy up real quick coming through. That's what Marshall Faulk. Extremely smart back. He could run side to side. He could get low. He could go straight up the middle and get you 2 or 3 yards. He could get low and he could do that. Marshall Faulk was one of the most complete backs that the NFL has ever seen.
Right. No, it's true. It's true. Definitely, he's definitely one of the best. And when it comes to, and that's what I'm saying, like, you can't put Frank Gore in that category when you consider his not only his rushing yards, but then when you combine his all-purpose yards, he had some historic seasons in NFL history when you consider his all-purpose yards. This dude was getting he was getting over 2,000 like almost every season of his career. And people don't understand how special he was. Was he on the 99 Rams? I believe he was on the 99 Rams with Kurt Warner, wasn't he? I believe so.
Warner, that's the thing. Like, he used to tell Warner, he used to tap Warner on the ass and alert him to plays. You know, that's what I was saying. And don't get me wrong, Kurt Warner was a good quarterback, but sometimes you have quarterbacks that are good. They have the talent. They can read the plays. They can, they have the timing. They can't always read the defenses the best. Peyton Manning was good at that. Marshall Faulk was good at that. That's what made him amazing. This is why he knew where to be. He knew where to cut. He knew what holes to take. He knew where to cut. These players, guys, are timing. So if you know how long, like these guys, the safeties, the cornerbacks, all of this stuff works off timing. And the more you study, the more you understand exactly where guys are going to be on those plays. This is what made Marshall Faulk so effective at route running, because he knows when the safeties are going to be back. He can read the defense and know when the safeties are going to be dropped in. That way you're going to want to do an outpost. You're not going to want to go in. But Marshall Faulk could read that before the ball snap. Every running back can't do that. That's what made the guy so special.
That's facts. Can't agree with more. Layla was saying, Ryan was saying, what was the Giants running back in the day with Simmons as quarterback? Don't remember. Trying to remember who. I don't remember. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. I'll have to get back to you on that one. To be fair,
wait a minute. He kind of confused me.
Is he talking about Phil Simms? I think that's what he meant. I could be wrong about that one, but I think he was talking about Phil Simms.
I don't know. Probably so. You see his son. His son was. What do you say about his son? His son was kind of a letdown. What do you think?
Oh, Chris Simms?
Yeah, I mean, he was a good quarterback, but then he took that terrible injury.
I mean, he had a pretty good arm. I know he played for the Buccaneers. It looked like he had some talent. Unfortunately, he had that injury. Okay, so he was right. It was Phil Simms. Okay, so.
Oh, that's what he was talking about, Phil Simms?
Yeah, he was mentioning Phil Simms. Okay, gotcha. All right.
Oh, okay. I was like, Simmons. He had me thinking for a second. I was like, Simmons. Who was
If I'm not mistaken, if I'm
What,
not mistaken,
what was your question? I mean, my bad, Louis. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I
no,
want.
it's all good. Oh no, you was talking about Marshall Falk and what I was gonna say, and when you finished, what I was gonna say, I was actually gonna get to the next running back. What I was gonna tell you was is that um this dual threat, and I feel like he is one of the OG dual threats, and it's crazy to me that this guy is not in the Hall of Fame when he should be. D, your thoughts on Roger Craig, who played for the 49ers?
Oh, Roger Craig. Oh, Roger Craig. He's not. He didn't make it.
No, he's still not in. To this day, he's not in.
He must have been on some tough ballots. That's what happens. Roger Craig
That's
will
probably
get in.
that's probably it.
Yeah, he's been on. That's what I was saying about Frank Gore. He's good. The first ballot probably is going to be a tough one. Roger Craig will get in, and then think about it like that because it's still late. He's not in. They could put him up for nominee again. Frank Gore goes in on a call with Roger Craig nominee and Peyton Manning. He's not getting in.
It's like
You know what I'm saying? He's not
I'm
going to
like,
get in.
I mean, because
Roger Craig, but back to that, I wanted to ask you
yeah,
a question on that.
sure.
Roger Craig he should be in already. This
Yeah,
guy is so polarizing on the defense. Okay, guys, he played safety, but he was like, if you guys remember Sean Taylor of the Washington Redskins and how brutalizing Sean Taylor was at safety, like they said that he could play linebacker. That was Roger Craig times 2. And speed, this guy was fast. There is a story, guys, true story. Roger Craig mangled his finger, right? He cut his finger off. He had the staff iced it. He wrapped his hand, finished the game, went to the hospital and got his finger sewed back on. No bullshit. This is the toughness, the tenacity, and hits. Oh my gosh, bro. He would give guys concussions right on the field. Bah! Roger Craig was, man, I cannot believe he's not in the Hall of Fame. That's amazing. But yeah, Roger Craig, I mean, he had this uncanny ability to know where the ball is going to be, like at all times. He was always around that ball. It was amazing. He kind of reminded you of a combination of a Sean Taylor and a Troy Polamalu. That's what he kind of reminds you of, a combination of Sean Taylor and Troy Polamalu. And if you could just wrap your head around that, that was Roger Craig. Simply amazing. But look, Louis, real quick, what was his question? Because it wasn't about Phil Simms. He asked us a question about when Phil Simms was the quarterback. I can't
no,
remember.
he was asking who was the running back for the Giants. I think when he was
That's my team. That's what I was like. And he said Simmons. I was like, we never had no quarterbacks named Simmons. I know that was like 85, 84, 85. Joe Morris was our running back.
probably yeah.
And we had Maurice Carton was our running back, but Joe Morris was our main back back then, Ryan. That was Joe Morris. He was a good back, too. He was a pretty good back, bro.
Yeah, you know. All right. So we got him. Let me see. Who was I mentioned? We got.
I know we got back to running backs, but yeah, Roger Craig was a safety, but he was amazing. Running backs was afraid of Roger Craig.
Who was I gonna say next? I mean, your boy. I know it's controversial, man, but in my personal opinion, I think he was the original, in a sense, the original OG Eric Dickerson of the '70s before Dickerson came in the '80s, and that's your boy Juice.
OJ?
OJ, that's right.
Yeah.
And in a sense, he was. If you look at the way he ran.
Yeah, OJ was extremely graceful. And if here's something funny. If you want to say deceptively quick, that was OJ. Now that is a guy that you could use deceptively quick for. Because of his stature and his size, OJ would take off on guys and he's out. He's out like a light. and they didn't understand because he was deceptively quick. You wouldn't
That's right.
expect guys his size to move that fast and that graceful the way he did. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's also, I think he and Terrell Davis, I think Terrell Davis tied OJ's record. I don't think he beat him, but he tied OJ's record for 1,000-yard seasons.
Oh, okay.
And so that just lets you know. So their record still stands too. OJ's also a member of that 2,000-yard club, which is,
That's right.
which is an accomplishment in itself, just getting that. So the Juice, man, when I think of the Juice, I think of a graceful, powerful back. He was graceful, but he was also powerful,
Mm-hmm. Okay. You're one of your other guys, man. We only kind of talked about him a little bit, but wanted to bring him back up. Your man, Tony Dorsett.
Tony, yeah. Well, ain't really my man, because that mother trucker was a cowboy. But I will tell you this. The first thing that comes to mind when I think of Tony Dorsett is fast. Boy, was Tony Dorsett fast. But the best thing about Tony Dorsett is he was similar to Warwick Dunn, Barry Sanders. These guys could cut LaDainian Tomlinson. They could cut and get right back to speed just like that. You see? And that's what Dorsett would come off the line. And the Cowboys had a really good line back then. Not like the Emmitt Smith line, but they had a really good line back then. We was the Hogs and the Cowboys used to go back and forth. But Tony Dorsett would come through a hole, and when the guys would rush the hole, he would just put one cut. When he gets into that secondary, it's a wrap, bro. You're not going to catch him. And he was so strong. He was small, but he was so strong. Like these safeties, man, even though safeties back then was bruisers, man, Tony Dorsett would throw a good stiff arm. He'd get low and shoulder these guys. He get into that secondary, bro. It was hard to catch him, So I think speed and cuts that's the first thing that come to mind with Tony Dorsett. But he's definitely a Hall of Famer. I think he's in the college and the pro Hall of Fame, as a matter of fact.
I believe so.
I know he is because, as a matter of fact, Tony Dorsett, I remember when he went into the Hall of Fame, he was inducted into the college and pro Hall of Fame in the same year.
Yeah.
In the same year. And he ran, he got the first, my bad, Louis, but I wanted to say this, and he was the first back to do the 99-yard touchdown run from scrimmage. Tony Dorsett was the first one to do that.
I think I saw that when I was looking at Tony Dorsett's career highlights. I actually did see that 99 touchdown run. And,
he did that shit. He did that in 1983. He ran for 99 yards, and it was amazing.
I believe that game was on a Monday night, wasn't it? I think so.
I definitely couldn't tell you that, but
when I saw I believe that was on Monday Night Football. I could be wrong, but I think so.
Right, bro. I watch so much goddamn sports, bro. Don't even get me started. I won't lie to you.
Yeah, because I was always impressed about that with Tony. When he had the ability to cut in the open field. Like he was able to maintain his speed because there's some guys when they cut, that they kind of tend to slow down and try to have to regather themselves. But Tony was his ability to maintain his speed after he makes his cut was just unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
Warwick Dunn, LaDainian Tomlinson, Barry Sanders, all of those backs. That's what made those guys special. Their acceleration after the cut, because most backs do that. Most backs make that cut, and then they got to get back up to speed. But these guys, man, they would make that cut, and they would get back up to speed so fast, it was almost like they didn't move. So it's like when you see these basketball players break ankles, that's basically what was happening to these guys on the football field because they couldn't turn quick enough because these guys was right back up to speed. So you would see them make guys fall, literally make guys fall with their cuts. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm. Let me just look in the chat, and I'm gonna mention two more running backs, and then I want you to give your top 10 running backs of all time, and I'm actually gonna have the chat do the same. Ryan says OJ was the Forrest Gump of the running back. You could probably say another guy too. There's quite a few of those guys when it comes to running and probably don't stop because I could probably put a top couple of guys. Layla says OJ was amazing without the roids or the modern medicine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally gifted.
Naturally gifted. I mean, and he was very good.
A guy like Earl Campbell in today's game.
The crazy part was Earl was actually pretty fast for somebody with big thighs like he had, man. And he had a lot of power. And like I said, if he played in this era, Earl would have had a longer career, considering the amount of hits he took that caused him to retire early, in the late 70s and 80s. So if Earl plays today, Earl's career would be longer, and he would have a lot of yards, and he would be having dudes on his back. That's how powerful he was for a power runner.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of power. Duality says Frank Gore had no business being on the top 25. I mean, I feel like he could have kind of been.
I would say not top 25, bro.
No. From what Duality has sent me, I forgot what list it was, but they have put him in the top 5, and I'm like, he's not a top 5 running back. I said
top 5.
Yeah. I forgot what it was, man. But
my bad, Duality. I thought he said top 25. Top 5 is ridiculous.
I mean, he's just kind of saying it just because where they put him at in the top 5. I just think that Duality, in his opinion, he would have a lot more running backs considering where Frank Gore was at. And I said, I'm not showing disrespect to Frank Gore. I mean, he was a good running back in his career, but when it just comes to peak value and performance, I can't put him there. Can't put him with some of these other backs, man. Like,
bro, I don't mean no harm and disrespect, but Frank Gore is nowhere near the top 5. I just said 16 to 20, and like I said, I went over a lot of backs. I got to like 13 or 14, but there's still some that he might not even make 16, 17.
Yeah, no, it's true. That's why I said that it was kind of hard for me when I put it. Let me just check. She's laughing around. He also says Adrian Peterson is the greatest running back of his era generation. Arguably, I mean, former MVP in 2012. Pete, what up? She says, what up, dude? Oh, Ryan brings up Devin Hester. Oh, Mr. Special Teams. Devin Hester to me reminded me of what Dante Hall was for the Chiefs. Like their ability to make big plays on special teams. Like Devin Hester's 2006 season reminded me of what Dante Hall did in 03 for the Chiefs. Like that's how special they had in terms of that 1 year. I mean, it's crazy. You could arguably call him the greatest return man, just because he was a walking highlight. Every time he took a kick return or a punt return, to the house. That's how good Devin Hester was, and he was very good at, he had great speed and was always able to lead his special teams to be able to block, to block the defense on special teams to be able to go take it all the way to the house. So he ran some.
But let me tell you something, bro. I like when people Devin Hester. I have to say this. People gotta understand this. Devin Hester, literally, when it comes to NFL history, had 2 standout seasons as far as special teams. And you consider that return man or whatever you want to say. And he did have 2 special standout seasons. But when we talk about greatest of all time, hands down, special teams, greatest of all time is my man from the Redskins, Brian Mitchell. Hands down. And you can look anywhere you want. Hands down. Overall longevity, he did this shit season after season after season. The motherfucker got like 19,100 or between 19,100 or something return yards, bro. Brian Mitchell. So Devin Hester's little
2 seasons
stretch That
Yeah,
ain't, I mean, he was great for those 2 seasons. He might be the greatest single season. He may be up there for like maybe the greatest single season. But if you
yeah,
look
yeah.
at Devin Hester, as far as like return man or greatest of all time, he won't even be in the top 5. I bet you, I can guarantee you, Brian Mitchell is going to be number 1 on mostly everybody's list. But it was a guy, Alan Rossum, they'll have over Devin Hester. Glenn Milburn, Mel Gray, Josh Gibbs, Dante Hall. Remember Dante Hall? Darren Sproles. I
Yeah, I
bet
just mentioned him.
will be over Devin Hester. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, true. That's true. I only mentioned that he really had like just about 1 or 2 seasons, but it's crazy. Here we go. Brian says, who was the running back that Reggie Bush before Reggie Bush and he was breaking ankles? I heard someone said when talking about comparing running backs, Reggie Bush, when it comes to Reggie, they tried to put him as receiver because they felt like he was too small to be a running back. Um, when he was with the, I thought when he was with the Saints.
Oh, they tried to make Reggie Bush a Marshall Faulk type, and that's where they messed up.
Yeah, that's what happened.
He
And it's
wasn't
funny that Marshall was the first person who I thought of when they tried to do that with Reggie Bush when he was with the Saints.
Yep.
He was the first guy I thought about.
They tried to make him an all-purpose back because he was so athletic and had good cuts and stuff, but he wasn't built for that. Reggie Bush wasn't a good route runner, and that was the problem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Duality says, when was Frank Gore ever really a top 5 running back in any given season? I think he was top 10 during his 49 years. Well, to be honest with you, I think the only real time, I don't remember what year it was, but I think only one time in his 15 seasons where he was considered a top 4 or top 5 running back. But his other years, it wasn't even really. And it's like you really didn't hear about Frank Gore like that. So that's what.
Hold on, because I think that's a little disrespectful to Frank Gore, whoever just left that comment. Check it out. He wasn't, and I think it was like a couple of seasons, but do you know that he ranked in the top 10? I'm pretty sure like top 10, 13 out of the 15 seasons he's been in the league.
That's true.
That's important, bro.
I got to give him respect on that. And like I said, he was able to do that for a long period of time. Now, was he ever the best running back? No. Never stood out as the best running back. But
that
he was definitely in the top.
It has to mean something, though.
It's true. And that's why when it comes to making his case for the Hall of Fame, it's going to depend on the class he goes with. If he goes in with players of kind of like his ilk, he could definitely get in if it was a first ballot. But when you put all these all-time great players who have been the best in the league, making all pros, making Pro Bowls, also win MVPs or defensive player of the years and all that kind of stuff. When it comes to that, no, he's not in that class. But when it comes to like at least consistency, I give him his respect, at least on that part.
Frank Gore will definitely, I think he'll go in the Hall of Fame. He'll definitely go in the Hall of Fame. Will he make that first ballot? I ain't too sure, but I think he goes, though.
I think with Frank Gore, it depends on who is his class. If he's going with a respectable class, I think he has a shot to get the first ballot. But if it's like surefire first ballot Hall of Famers, he's not going to get in that first one. It's going to depend on the ballot that he's in, the class that he's with.
That's for sure.
It's going to depend on the class. But I don't think he's going to get in there, man. First ballot if he's with the wrong class, especially when it's like if you compare players and like, oh yeah, surefire first ballot. I'm like, no, he's not going to get it. But it has to be a respectable class.
He goes in there with Peyton Manning, and that's one down already.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If he goes in on that ballot with Peyton, you can hang it up, bro. I don't think anybody right now playing that. I mean, only person I think will have a chance to get in before Peyton Manning is Tom Brady.
Yeah. Considering the career that Brady had, yeah.
He's the only one. Anybody else, I think Peyton goes in before them. Because he was the most popular position in football, and he did absolutely fantastic. So,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Peyton goes in.
Okay, so Jermaine says I do like Zeke. I think he's talking about Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah, he's definitely one of the best backs in the NFL. That's excuse me, that's a fact.
Zeke is
Um,
Zeke is doing things now that will potentially, if he stays healthy, will potentially have him in the top backs of all time if he keeps doing the things he's doing now. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah, and Duality had mentioned the point about OJ's unfortunate OJ's trial and case and some of the stuff he's gotten off the court, off the field. But when we talk about on the field performance, OJ Simpson is definitely top 10 all time when it comes to that. And people just kind of tend to separate. They can't. People do this when they're comparing players. They tend to put their off the court with no. You gotta focus on field performance. That's where the conversation's at. If you want to do who's the off the field GOAT or whatever, or who's better than that, then that's a different conversation. But when we talk about on the field performance, I'm telling you, OJ Simpson had a 2,000-yard season. OJ Simpson was the best player in the league. Like when you factor in all of that, that's what made OJ great. Unfortunately, he's to me much more underrated because of what happened off the field. But when we talk about on the field, he is in that conversation for best backs of all time, and there's no question about that.
Yeah, but Frank Gore gets a lot of flack and he gets a lot of discredit when there's credit deserved. You know, I would tell you what Frank Gore's biggest problem is. His biggest problem, he don't have a title.
Yeah, he needs a Super Bowl. He never won one.
That's his biggest problem. Even if he got one late, like now, he would be good. Because like you got to think about something with Frank Gore, man. Like I said before when he was talking about top five, like yeah, he wasn't top five. But let's look at some other things. He was definitely top 10 for 13 out of 15 seasons. That's something I know for sure. But let's think about this. He has a record right now, and the reason, which is part of the reason he was top 10 out of 13 out of 15 seasons, he has a record right now where he ran over 1,200 yards for 12 freaking seasons straight, bro.
Yep.
12 seasons straight over 1,200 yards. And every season he's been in the league, he's ran over 500 yards, which is an accomplishment itself.
Facts.
500 yards for 15 seasons straight, but he has 1,200 yards for 12 seasons straight, 1,200 plus, which I think only one or two backs has done that in the league ever. No one's done more than that. He's tied with someone, I think maybe Emmitt Smith. So,
yeah.
Look, dude, like Frank Gore has done some amazing things in this league. We can't take it. It's just that Super Bowl. Had he had a Super Bowl, I'm pretty sure he would be a shoo-in.
He would have gotten more respect because I think when you get a Super Bowl, especially if you've been consistent and have the longevity that Frank Gore has, he would get more recognition because people will start to look in his career a little bit different. Duality says, I say Frank Gore was a top 10 running back. I think his career stats make him a Hall of Famer longevity. Absolutely.
Nah, he's not top 10, bro. I'm telling
you. No. He's talking about in his playing days. He's not talking about all time.
Oh, yeah. No, well, that's a stat. You can go look that up, bro. I won't just shooting the shit with you. That's a stat for sure. He was top 10 for 13 out of his 15 seasons. So that's a statistical fact. I'm not even making that shit up, which is amazing,
Yeah. Layla says, I think he's guilty, but I could care less when we're talking football and she's talking about OJ. And again, it's about on the football field. So it's football. Shout out to Kid Glory in the building. We're spending the whole day. Oh, I see. Yeah. And he says, I can't call it, bro. All right. Devin Hester was a cheat code. I mean, when you consider those 1 to 2 seasons, yeah, for that time, yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to career, not even close compared to some of these other special team guys, especially arguably the greatest special teams guy, Brian Mitchell.
Devin Hester made special teams and teams take risks and put safeties and cornerbacks down there. And once they did that, they shut him down. Like he would still explode every now and then, but they shut him down. They changed the scheme of how guys come down the field and put faster guys back there, and they pretty much shut Devin Hester down. When you look at guys like Brian Mitchell and those guys, they were doing it regardless. Teams would try to restructure their defense. They were still busting loose, getting yards, and they were doing it consistently. So that's good just for a brief minute.
True. And Jermaine says you got to factor longevity. You got to give him longevity. True. Frank, he says Frank has been dominated this long. I would say when it comes to longevity, he's dominated. I would say longevity, he's dominated longevity. I don't think a championship, unless he's a key contributor to the Super Bowl, would change anything. I wouldn't. What I say that they would look at him a little bit more different. I'm not going to say like totally, because if you still look at longevity and peak performance, but when it comes to his consistency and you add a Super Bowl winning team to a title, they'll look at him a little bit differently because
let's be honest, even at this point, he would be a factor. Frank Gore's still effective. So even if he got with a team, they would use him. They would clearly use him as a 1-2 punch. He would mean something in that Super Bowl. I can guarantee you that.
Yep.
He's still a threat. He's still a threat just having him on the field.
Yep. That's right. Layla says exactly, Louis. I'm a girl, and it still has nothing to do with my opinion of him as a football player. Football and emotional opinions don't match. I mean, we're kind of dealing with it right now when it comes to, basketball. It's like people get way too emotional when it comes to their favorites. It's crazy. Shout out to Alex Sports, and make sure you guys go check him out. A championship is huge for running backs, though. It is. It is kind of huge when you consider the career. I mean, a lot of guys who are on the greatest of all time, most of the guys that I have in my top 10 have actually won Super Bowls, and like I said, very impactful when it comes to their impact. Layla says we got 15 likes. I'm digging it. Shout out to Glory Word, and then Alex. Shout out to Alex Sports. He says what up, and he says he's got Barry Sanders as the GOAT, and I would not argue with that. Considering how much he was able to produce with a weak offensive line. And Barry Sanders even said it at the NFL 100 when he was sitting with Rich Eisen, Colin Collinsworth, and with Bill Belichick. He said, let's say he got traded to New England and been part of those early 2000 New England Patriots. I mean,
they would have had 8 or 9 Super Bowls by now, because they would have definitely got Super Bowls with Barry behind there.
And then think about it. Barry's already been the best player, man. He was Offensive Player of the Year in 1994, and in 97, he was the MVP in 97. He was able to beat, his all-purpose yards are among the best in NFL history. You add Super Bowl titles to his resume, and that's crazy, D, he only played 10 seasons. So imagine how much more yardage he would have gotten along with Super Bowls. For example, if he did play on a team like New England.
Well, who made that comment? I will still say this. Barry Sanders, like I said, is my favorite back of all time. It's just like Mel Whitaker in boxing. That's my favorite boxer of all time. But I don't necessarily think he's the GOAT. I got to give that to Jim Brown, because people say this about Barry Sanders in the offensive line, right? Well, you go back and you take a look at Jim Brown. His offensive line wasn't that great either. And he could cut on you, but he could also bruise you. If they got their hands on Barry Sanders, a lot of times Barry was going down because he wasn't his back. It didn't matter for Jim Brown, bro.
Oh, no.
He would bust through him. He would cut. He could do it all, bro. So and he had less season than Barry Sanders, bro.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Jim Brown played one less year than Barry Sanders. One less year.
Right. Less seasons, more yards. Think about that.
And I'm gonna say this, man. And as soon as I check with the chat, I want to see what everybody's top 10 running backs of all time is in the comment section, and then me and D are gonna give our top 10 greatest. Even though this is about the 25, I mean, I could think of guys like Beast Mode, Marshawn Lynch. Definitely, could be up there.
No,
and that was a Mac cover.
Not my.
He was fun to watch.
15. If we did 15, we could do 15. I could give you 15, but I wouldn't have beast mode in my 15.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, it's all subjective. I would have Marshawn to me would be 20 to 25, to be honest with you. Where I had where I would have him. Where I would have him 20 to 25. 20 to, but he was definitely fun to watch. I loved him in Seattle.
Yeah.
I'm wondering when I'm going to put Russell Wilson, because he currently is, other than Aaron Rodgers, he's my favorite quarterback right now. His ability to do more with less. I'm interested to see the tandem that he's going to be with DK Metcalf. That's going to be fun for years to come. Kid Glory says he's got Barry Sanders as the GOAT. Alex has him too. Barry's definitely in the top 5 for me, but I can't put him as the greatest. He had dudes in the spin cycle. Oh, for sure. Hit the like. As soon as I came in here, and Duality says Eric Dickerson was big and fast. I told you, this dude was like a ballerina when it came to his running, man, because he had those like pity pat feet when he would run. Like, dude was big, but he was fat. Eric was fast. He was
he was a monster, bro.
6'3", fast. 6'3", but that dude was so fast. Bo Jackson is the GOAT. Well, definitely not, but I could see beast mode anywhere from 15 to 25, depending on your criteria. I say 20 to 25, me personally, because I still feel like there's some backs that were better than beast mode, but beast mode was definitely great, though. All right, D. So we've come to that time of the show. Your top 10 running backs of all time. Your top 10. If you make your top 10, and I know you got Jim Brown as number 1, but who do you have as your top 10 running backs of all time?
Well, I'm gonna go from 10 backwards.
Well, you want to go 10 to 1? Okay. All right.
Yeah, but I don't, man. Jim Brown, I'm gonna have to speak on him a little bit. We do know it, but
yeah, of course.
My boy, son. But anyway, no. But anyway, number 10, I got Emmitt.
Emmitt Smith? Okay.
Emmitt Smith, and I know a lot of people wouldn't like that because of statistically what he did and everything. And I think Emmitt Smith was a great running back. Don't get me wrong. But I just feel like that 6 years, Dallas Cowboys had probably the greatest offensive line that the NFL has ever seen. Literally.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, they did. And it's not just about Emmitt Smith. It was about what they did for Troy Aikman. Their stunts and you could not get through that line. And they used to create holes so huge. They were in perfect sync. And the big thing about that Dallas Cowboy line is they stayed healthy. Durability is key, man. So these guys, chemistry, that was probably the greatest line in NFL history. So Emmitt Smith had the privilege of running behind that line. And so I take a little away from him because of that. But still, you have to run that ball. So you got to give Emmitt Smith his respect. You got over 18,000 yards all time. I mean, you got to put Emmitt Smith there. The juice, man, is number 9. I got the juice for number 9. I talked about him earlier. 7 yards, 1,000 yard season, 7 seasons with 1,000 yards.
My son Matthew has cancer.
Is that mine or yours?
Very thankful that
I think that's yours, D.
I don't even know what the hell.
Never see a hospital bill. Never see a.
Sorry about that, bro.
That's all right, man. Yeah, you were saying about OJ at number 9.
All right. Sorry about that. I don't know. I don't know what that was, dog.
It's all right.
You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you. Perfect.
Oh, okay. My bad. Y'all don't know what that was.
Chris. My son.
What
Matthew
the fuck, bro?
We're so very thankful that we're here at St. G.
I don't know what my computer acting screwy, bro. I don't even have no other windows open.
Was that an ad? It probably could be.
Oh, it might have been a pop-up or something, dog. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
See, there it go again. Hope I don't
Probably,
got no kind of virus or nothing. But
uh,
anyway, all right, you can't hear it now, right?
nah, I can't hear it.
All right, my bad, dog.
That's all right.
Anyway,
That's cool.
where was I at? I was at the Juice, right?
Yeah, you was at the
Yeah,
juice.
I had OJ at number 9. I got I'm trying to think between damn, it's hard, bro, because we going off top of the dome.
That's true. That's true. You said
I
you
would
had.
put Earl Campbell. It's hard between Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett. I would put Earl Campbell at number 8, Tony Dorsett at number 7.
You got Earl at 8 and Tony at 7. Okay. You got
Tony
OJ at 9 and you got Emmett at 10. Okay.
Right. I got Eric Dickerson at 6.
Mm-hmm.
The Damian Tomlinson at 4.
Wait, we got number 5.
At 5, I meant.
Okay.
Galesayers at 4. Barry Sanders, look, guys, I know people might get upset, but I gotta put Barry Sanders at 3 because he didn't play. Facts are he didn't play. So I can't put him in front of Walter Payton.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll put Barry Sanders at 3, Payton 2, and I already said Jim Brown 1, right? But this is why I went backwards. Listen, man, put some damn respect on Jim Brown's name, dog. Please put some respect on Jim Brown's name. I understand what people are saying about the offensive line. Understand this. Jim Brown didn't need an offensive line either.
That's true.
That man had the most carries in NFL history until this day. Still, 2,300 something, 106 touchdowns to this day, 12,312 yards, bro. That stat I remember till this day. That man's the GOAT.
It's crazy. That man is the greatest. According to D, he is the greatest of all time. Jim Brown is his guy. And you must put respect on Jim Brown's name. That's a fact. And the thing is, you can't go wrong if you were to put Jim Brown. I mean, Jim Brown, to me, personally, he has to be top 3. I can't see him anywhere lower than 3, to be honest with you, because of the standard that. Because the standard.
It's got to be Walter, Jim Brown, and some people will argue Barry Sanders. Actually, I just got Barry Sanders number 3 because of how much he did in such a short time. But some people will put Gale Sayers over him. Even Eric Dickerson and LaDainian might go over Barry because of statistically and what they brought to the table. Like, it's an argument for those guys.
Oh, yeah. You know, for sure. All right. So now I got to give my 10 in terms of best running backs of all time. I mean, it's really tough. It's really tough when I consider my top 10. It's crazy because so at number 10, I got the legendary Marcus Allen. I got Marcus Allen at number 10.
Okay, I like that.
You're talking about Super Bowl MVP from Super Bowl 18. The guy had over 10,000 rushing yards and 5,000 receiving yards in his career. I still remember that 74 touchdown round. He did 74. It was 75 actually, which was the longest run at that time in Super Bowl history. MVP in 85 and was 3rd all time in rushing touchdowns with 123 at the time of his retirement. So got to go with the man Marcus Allen at number 10 with those great Raider teams. So I go with him at number 10. At number 9, I got the truck, man, Earl Campbell. I mean, what can you say about this guy? The guy won 3 straight MVPs from 78 to 80, 10,213 yards from scrimmage. Unfortunately, his career was short. I mean, the man did win 4 rushing titles. His career was cut short due to injuries, but definitely one of the most powerful, for a guy with as big of thighs that he had, very graceful on the football field. It's crazy for a guy that big. So I think that he was able to rush. This guy rushed for over 200 yards 4 different times, you know, in the same season. So he was
Oh yeah,
still,
Louis, real quick, bro.
yeah.
I got to say one more thing about Jim Brown. He was clocked at his 40 was clocked at 412. Bam. Think about that.
Who you talking about, Earl?
Jim Brown.
Oh,
Big
Jim
Jim
Brown.
Brown.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. No, Jim. Whew. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, you got yo for real. That dude Jim Brown. Yo, if y'all haven't seen Jim Brown highlights, make sure y'all go watch Jim Brown. I'm telling you, Jim Brown. That dude, so fast. In terms of and I got to say this real quick. As great as Gale Sayers was in his NFL career, I put him at 11. He's an honorable mention. He just missed my cut.
Oh,
Gale Sayers, I know he could do it all. I feel like if he and I know and he kind of retired early as well. But I know his career was kind of cut short as well. But I know he would have accumulated more, and I would have put him in the top 10. But he's at 11 for me, so he's just a little short. Just a little short for me. Okay, at 7, I gotta go with no, I'm sorry, number 8. I gotta go with Adrian Peterson. Um, I gotta go with AP. This dude, I know he's still playing right now. He's obviously not getting playing time, and he's not in his prime. But 14,216 rushing yards, 117 total touchdowns, 16,581 all-purpose yards. I mean, the brother was a combination of size, athleticism. The man had speed. I remember when he had the most rush yards in a single game against the Bears. I saw the game, 296 yards, people, and it was over 300 all-purpose yards that day. I think it was 367 total, which tells you that he had 81 receiving yards and then 296 rush yards, and that was against the Bears. I remember that. I still remember that game. Uh, 3-time NFL rushing champion, was the best player in the league, NFL MVP, 7-time All-Pro, 7 Pro Bowls, and numerous records. So I got to put an AP at number 8. So I got to put him there. At number 7, I got the great Eric Dickerson. I got Eric Dickerson at number 7.
all right.
15,000 yards from scrimmage, 15,396. The man I told you, 6'3". He's not your prototypical running back because of his size. The man was just completely fast. I mean, in '84, 2,105 yards was the NFL record at that time, and that was just in his second season. Currently, he's 9th. I believe he led the league in rushing 4 times. Has a Hall of Fame career. He's in the NFL all-time 100 team. So is Gale Sayers, even though he missed my cut. And he's 9th all-time in rush yards all time. 15,396 all-purpose and 13,259 total rush yards in his career in 146 career games. So Eric Dickerson, man, that dude was light on his feet and was just crazy fast in his career. And the thing is, he's not prototypical because remember, running backs are not they're not, really known to be like tall and fast as he was, man. So, Eric Dickerson, definitely number 6. All right. No, I'm sorry. He's number 8. And I'm sorry. He's number 7. My mistake. So Adrian is at number 8. Dickerson is number 7. Number 6. I'm going to go with LaDainian Tomlinson on this one at number 6.
Damien, LT.
13,684 yards, 145 touchdowns, 18,000 from scrimmage, 162 total touchdowns. It's crazy, man. It's unfortunate that he never got to win a Super Bowl. And I know he was on some very talented San Diego Charger teams. I still remember that 2016 that won 14 games. I'm sorry, man. Layla says his career reignited, man, when it was when it was on Undisputed because he comes there all the time. Duality says, where do you put Matt Forte? I mean, I got to see Matt Forte when his career is done, though. And shout out to Caden, man. Yeah, Jim Taylor is definitely one of the greatest specimens, no question about it. The greatest running back is Michael Jordan, right? Um, Duality says, I got Eric Dickerson over LT. Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely make that. I would have to redo that. I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head, but when I redo it, I'll definitely put Eric Dickerson over LT. I just got him over right now, but I'll definitely switch that. But I'm just
Yeah,
doing
it's
this off the
tough
top
to
of
do
my
it
head.
off the top of the dome, bro.
Yeah, no, it's hard. But anyway, 2006 NFL MVP, and I remember I was right. He set the single rushing touchdown record, which was previously held by Shaun Alexander, who had 27 and was the MVP in the year that the Seahawks went to the Super Bowl against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I was right. LT set the record with 28. I still remember that tough divisional playoff round loss to the Patriots, and that was the year that the Colts beat them in the AFC Championship 38-34. I remember that game vividly, and they went to the Super Bowl and they beat the Bears. They beat that Bears team that was a great defense, but they didn't have a really good running back, and their quarterback Rex Grossman, and you already know how I feel about that one. But third all time in touchdowns, 162 behind Jerry Rice and Emmitt Smith, and these are just talking about total touchdowns. Obviously, man, and it's like he actually had, I think he still has the NFL record for most consecutive games with a touchdown with 18. So there's LT. I have LT at number 6. Number 5, I'm gonna go with Emmitt Smith. I know a lot of people you say, what? He's a top 5. Like I said, I gotta reconstruct this list, but this is coming off the top of my head. Now, I do agree with D. Obviously, he has the greatest amount of rush yards ever. He's number 1 all time in rushing. He did play 14 seasons in the NFL, 226 career games. He has 21,579 yards of all-purpose. 175 total touchdowns. He did win 3 Super Bowls. He was NFL MVP in 1993. Obviously, he has some standout seasons. I think what was impressive for me about Emmitt Smith, and yes, he did play with all-pro offensive linemen, yes. But I think what was impressive about Emmitt Smith was his ability to attack defenses. He was relentless when it came to that. He was small and he was not fast, obviously. He was a pretty good power runner, and I got to give Emmitt a lot of credit. He was very good at being deceptive and was forcing defenses to commit when they try to tackle him. So I got to give him credit on that. I definitely don't think he's the greatest for sure. But I have him at number 5, and I got to reconstruct this list for sure. But there's that. All-time NFL rushing leader. He holds the NFL records for career rushing touchdown seasons with 1,000, as well as the record for career 100-yard rushing games with 78. He was actually a back-to-back NFL MVP, 3 Super Bowls, and he was the MVP of Super Bowl 28. So I got to remember that as well. So that he's at number 5. Number four, I got to go with Marshall Faulk. Marshall Faulk at number 4. What can you say about this guy? This guy could pretty much do it all when it came to versatility for a running back. It definitely is good in the slot. Definitely was a great running back. 12,279 rush yards, 19,190 all-purpose, which tells you he was a pretty good, damn good receiver. If he was a receiver, he'd be a Hall of Fame receiver. And obviously, if he was just a running back, he'd be a Hall of Fame running back. That's how special he was. Won a Super Bowl title with the St. Louis Rams in '99. He was a do-it-all running back, ladies and gentlemen. He was another one of those players. He's only one of 2 players, guys, to be able to rush 4,000 yards and receive 4,000 yards. The other person to do that was Roger Craig. So let that sink in. He also holds the NFL record for most consecutive seasons with at least 2,000 yards from scrimmage, which is 4. And he was a 2-time MVP, won it back-to-back seasons in 2000 and 2001. And he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So I got Marshall Faulk at number 4. Number 3, I got Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders is number 3 for me. What can you say about Barry? The fact that he was able to do a lot with so little on the offensive line. Just lets you know how I bet. I got Flintstone at number 4. Um, and I'll look at the chat in a bit as well. You guys have been great. Um, so like I said, at number 3, I got Barry Sanders, 15,269 yards. He was mostly obviously a runner. He was obviously elusive. Unbelievable. He can explode with that home run speed that he had. Definitely really special. 18,308 yards all purpose, 99 rushing touchdowns, 109 total. His career was short. He only played 10 years. I told you, imagine what his career would have been like had he played on the championship team. Could have won himself more. MVP, 91 and 97, 4 NFL rushing titles, 1990, 94, 96, 97. All 10 years of his career, he was selected to the Pro Bowl. All 10 years. That's crazy. And he holds a lot of numerous NFL records for a running back. And his career, it really didn't end too soon. So he's at number 3. At number 2, I got Walter Payton. I mean, what can you say about your man Sweetness? What can you say about Sweetness? 21,803 yards all purpose. I'm going to check into the chat. 16,726 rushing yards. When you think of elite running backs, 125 total touchdowns, 110 as a running back, you think of Sweetness, man. One of the first names when you think of elite, and that guy was elite. This guy has set so many NFL records. 3-time MVP, 1976, 77, and 85, made 9 Pro Bowls, Super Bowl champion with the 85 Bears, the famous 46 defense of the Bears, the Super Bowl shuffle. And if y'all Chicago Bears fans out there, if y'all know the Super Bowl shuffle of 85, y'all know what I'm talking about. And Walter Payton is regarded as the most prolific running back in the game's history. The man died too soon, man. Passed away at the age of 46. Unfortunately, man. So shout out to the great Walter Payton. And number 1 for me, you can't mention the NFL when it comes to running backs without this brother right here, man. Jim Brown. Jim Brown. This guy only played, think about this, guys. He only played 9 NFL seasons. Barry played 10. He amassed 12,312 yards, 106 rushing touchdowns, 5.2 yards per carry, 15,459 all-purpose yards, 126 total touchdowns. Think about it. And what people need to remember was, back then, the NFL was about the running backs. The NFL was about the running backs. I think of running backs as kind of the big men of the NBA. Like what you see today where it's about the quarterback, which would tell you like it's about kind of like a wings league and all that kind of stuff. Like when you think of running backs, they're kind of like the big men. Like it's like, who would you build your team around? Like when the league was about pounding the football, like today's league is all about the passing game. Like it's about the quarterbacks putting out these gaudy stats. Like you really have teams that rely on running game. But in Jim Brown's time, it was about the running game. And the guy was able to do it all. He did it all. Only running back to average more than 100 yards per game. He's the only running back all time to average 100 rushing yards per game. NFL record for career yards per carry, 5.2. 8-time NFL. Dude, he won 8 rushing titles. 8. 4-time NFL MVP. 8-time All-Pro. He has an NFL championship in 1964. He only played 9 years, man. And in my personal opinion, and like D just mentioned, 4.12. So Jim Brown is my number 1 running back of all time. And he is the greatest running back in NFL history. And when you think of running backs, the first guy that would come to mind when it comes to NFL running backs, he is the running backs, Jim Brown. So I got Jim Brown as my number 1, and that's my top 10, ladies and gentlemen. That is my top 10. And let me just check in the chat, man. I know the chat has been going a little crazy out here. Shout out to Joel Hayward in the building.
Yeah, real quick, bro. I wanted to hear your top 10, which is good. I gotta take off though, because I gotta get ready to go eat dinner. But
all right,
look,
no
I
doubt,
appreciate having me on, dog. I definitely miss talking football, so
that's
I appreciate
facts.
the
We're gonna
opportunity.
talk.
What you,
we're gonna talk, no doubt, and we're gonna talk more football. D, do me a favor though. Make if you can, man, put this link on the channel so like other dudes, can check it out. I'm pretty sure you got some football fans on your channel, right?
yeah, I'm gonna share it on my Twitter page and all of that.
All right, cool, man. Appreciate it, man. Take care, D. Enjoy
All
that
right,
eating time.
take care now. Appreciate
Where's
y'all.
Chris? Where's Chris Wedge when you need him, man? He would have been talking about D and talking about snacks. But anyway, guys, continue to smash the like and subscribe. Um, MJ's the goat of all sports. Freestyling in the list is tough. Yeah, so many great bags. I gotta redo my list. That's why I just did it. But I got Jim Brown as number one for sure. Um, that's right. And Marshall Falk, yeah, he got Fred Flintstone number three. He says. Joel says his number. Okay, his list: Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, Jim Brown, Emmitt Smith, Earl Campbell, Marshall Falk, Eric Dickerson, Marcus Allen, LaDainian Tomlinson, and Adrian Peterson. That's a pretty good list. And as a matter of fact, I got all those running backs on my list. Just a little bit different. Um, Kicking Flintstones, yabba dabba doo time. Terrell Davis and Marshall Falk. All right, no doubt. Cool. Brown at number three. I got Jim Brown at number one. It's all good. I mean, it's everybody's list at the end of the day, man. Everybody's list. Putting this list together was what is tougher was hard. It's true. It's hard. Number one, Michael. Number two, Jeffrey. Number three, Jordan. Yeah, he was only 46 years old. He died too young. Too young. That's what's up. Chips are needed to separate him. We got to do a wide receiver list too in QB. Oh yeah. If you guys want to come on for that, man, I'm definitely gonna do a wide receiver list of all time for sure. And wide receivers. Facts. I got Peyton at one and Brown at two. Oh, Walter Payton at one and Brown at two. Got you. I got Jim Brown at one. I would put. I might have to switch. Yeah, no, I got Walter Payton at number two, and I got Barry Sanders at three. That's my list, no doubt, and you know this. Night, no doubt. All right, good-ish. No facts. I should put it on my channel too, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, guys, man. If you definitely could do that, like if you guys could put this on your channel, make sure you guys put this on the channel. I definitely appreciate that, man. And if you guys love talking football, we do that. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut the stream and gonna get ready to do the. If you guys are into wrestling, I'm going to do the Ruthless Aggression era on the Louis Sports Network. So we're talking wrestling. So I just wanted to take a little break off basketball because I've been primarily doing that, and I wanted to get back on to doing some of the other things I do. I want to get onto baseball as well. I'm actually going to do a video on the 1990s Atlanta Braves. I think, despite I mentioned earlier, despite the fact that I am a Yankees fan, I want to put a lot of respect on the pitchers that pitch in that era when you consider the 1990s Atlanta Braves. Great team, won World Series, but I wanted to put respect on them. Again, guys, so this is an end to the stream. I want to thank everybody for coming through and make sure you guys pull up for the Ruthless Aggression WWE video. So make sure you guys pull up for that one. But again, thank everybody. I want to thank Geek D as my special guest for coming through on this stream. We're talking some football. I think the next list I want to do is the wide receivers. And Pete, you got to pull up for that one, Duality. So Duality, I'm going to send you a link for the wide receivers one when I do that one. And make sure you guys pull up for that one. And like I said, share this on your social media platforms and make sure you guys subscribe to the channel for those who are new. I just kind of have to give it a break when it comes to King B-ball. No Louis Sports Network B-ball 24/7 365, right? All right, man. But appreciate everybody, man. Hit me up on the Cash App if you can. PayPal if you guys want to donate, of course. From the Louis Sports Network, this is your boy Louis coming at you with another one. Make sure to smash the like, hit that subscribe. You already know the deal. Bless up. Live, laugh, love. Thank y'all for watching. From Galesayers to Marshall Falk to Frank Gore to O.J. Simpson to LaDainian Tomlinson to Emmitt Smith to Eric Dickerson to Walter Payton and to Barry Sanders to your current guys today. This is Louis to Saquon. I know Gurley's with the Falcons right now. And your boy Zeke. Bless up. Live, laugh, love. Thank y'all for watching. Make sure to share this, and make sure you guys also, when you guys do, when the stream re-pops up, make sure that have everybody just like and make sure that they rewatch the video so we can get more recognition, man. But appreciate it. And like Ryan says, we chat together, we stream together, we fam together. I will see you guys in a bit if you guys pull up for the wrestling. If you guys are obviously wrestling fans, make sure y'all pull up to the next one. All right. Take care, guys.